Single Dad's Hidden Blessing, discover how a babysitter's true identity transformed their lives. Jake paced the living room, the shadows of night creeping in as he glanced at the clock. 11:30 p.m. He had just returned from another exhausting shift at the hospital, where the pressure never seemed to ease. The echo of beeping monitors and frantic calls for nurses reverberated in his mind, a soundtrack accompanying the weight of his responsibilities. Every day felt like a tightrope walk, balancing the demands of a rewarding yet draining career with being a single dad to his exuberant 5-year-old daughter, Lily. Exhaustion rumbled in his chest as guilt clawed at him. He loved Lily, but the long hours and constant fear of being inadequate as both a father and a provider gnawed at his insides. She needed him, her laughter, her questions about the world, and her unfiltered joy, but he was running on fumes. He felt like a ghost in this house, a fleeting presence barely keeping up with the vibrancy of her spirit. His mind raced to the decision he had hesitated over for weeks. Hiring a babysitter. It felt like admitting failure, but the late nights were too much. He needed someone to watch over Lily when he couldn't, to give her the attention and affection he always aimed to provide. But could he afford it? Wasn't this a betrayal of what it meant to be a good father? Then Emma came into their lives. From the moment she walked through the door, her cheerful disposition lit up the room. It was as if the sun had broken through the clouds that had hung over him for too long. Lily adored her, and her laughter echoed through the house like music. The pressure on Jake's shoulders felt lighter, and for the first time in months, he caught himself smiling. Yet with every giggle that erupted from the next room, a strange, unwelcome feeling brewed. Jealousy coiled in his gut as he watched them together. Here was Emma, a natural with Lily, unburdened by the weight of adult responsibilities. Jake couldn't help but compare their joys, her carefree playfulness versus his relentless worry. What was happening to him? Was he becoming obsolete in his daughter's life? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. Jake shoved these thoughts aside as they grew more complicated, swirling within him like a storm. Then came the day he stumbled upon Emma's portfolio, tucked away in a seemingly innocuous corner of their living room. The sketches and paintings revealed a history of artistic brilliance. Emma wasn't just a babysitter, she had been a celebrated art prodigy suffocated by her family's expectations. The contrast between her past and his present sent shockwaves through him. Could he support her ambitions while wagering his own sense of self-worth against her inevitable rise? His heart raced as doubt gripped him. What right did he have to hold her back? Yet, fear whispered in his ear, drowning out any fleeting hope. What if her success blinded her to his struggles? Conflicting emotions battled inside him, admiration mixed with envy, pride woven with shame. And just as he found himself longing for clarity, the avalanche struck. Emma began receiving offers from prestigious galleries, and with each invitation, Jake felt his identity crack a little more. He was drowning in insecurity, torn between wanting to be her biggest fan and longing for the days when his struggle had felt simple, before her burgeoning talent reshaped their lives. Would he be able to support her in an uncertain future, or would he let fear eclipse their bond altogether? A shocking confrontation loomed. Ready to challenge everything he believed. The next morning dawned with a peculiar stillness, the kind that hung heavy in the air, promising either hope or despair. Jake lingered over his coffee, staring at the swirling patterns in his cup, caught between gratitude for Emma and a creeping sense of inadequacy. Despite the cheerful sounds of Lily playing in the background, an unease settled deep within him. It was as if every joyful squeal reminded him of everything he seemingly lacked. His resolve to support Emma started to waver as the prospect of her success loomed larger. Each email notification served as a reminder of the opportunities that beckoned her, opportunities Jake felt inept to discuss. As the recognized artistic talent flourished under the bright lights of the gallery exhibitions, Jake's shadows grew darker, eclipsing his once vibrant role in his daughter's life. Lily bounded into the kitchen, eyes alight with the kind of exuberance only children possess. "Daddy! Can we paint today?" she squealed, her small hands gripping his arm as if anchoring him in the fray of his swirling thoughts. The mere suggestion filled him with dread. Why hadn't he thought to make painting a theme for their time together? Instead, Lily had come to associate creativity with Emma. "Maybe later, sweet pea. Daddy has things to do," he faltered, the words tasting bitter on his tongue. How could he be so dismissive? The guilt surged again, but he tucked it away as he always did. They were in a balancing act, and it felt skewed. Later that day, he walked into the art store, a bustling labyrinth of colors and materials. With each aisle, he found himself drawn to the whispering of potential in a paintbrush, an unseen passion urging him, but the shadows of self-doubt dulled the brightness of possibility. He rushed through the aisles, gathering supplies with the frantic fervor of a man trying to reverse a tide. Yet, in this moment of perceived empowerment, he felt the encroaching isolation grow heavier, a reminder of all the fronts upon which he felt he was losing ground. When evening arrived, Emma rang the doorbell, her customary bright smile illuminating the dim corridor. Watching her engage with Lily felt like being an audience member in the story of their lives, a story he was losing the narrative to. Resentment stirred within him uninvited, fueled by insecurity. "Let us paint together," he said abruptly, surprising both Emma and himself. The words left his mouth before he could process their weight. What was he doing? Was this an attempt to reclaim his place? The thought frightened him. What a great idea! Emma beamed, her enthusiasm cutting through his turmoil as they settled at the dining table. But even as he dipped the brush into vibrant colors, he couldn't shake the feeling of being on edge. Every stroke felt scrutinized, every laugh shared between Emma and Lily jabbed at his heart. Was he painting because he wanted to, or out of the fear that Lily would forget who he was? As they painted, drenched in hues of pinks and oranges, an idea began to take shape. What if he used this moment to reflect his desires, submerge himself in the art of fatherhood amidst the strokes of brushes? He poured energy into the canvas, channeling his fears and dreams into each swipe. Perhaps this was a pivotal moment, flushing out frustration and animosity through creative expression. As midnight approached, the room was strewn with colors, laughter, and the echoes of conversations laden with an undercurrent of urgency. Suddenly, Lily's innocent voice pierced through, a child's query that shattered Jake's tentative grip on composure. "Daddy, why do you let Emma do the fun stuff?" The weight of her words hung heavily, igniting a realization within Jake. In his effort to support, he had drifted from who he wanted to be as Lily's father. The need to confront this new dynamic loomed, a challenge demanding he reconcile his feelings of jealousy and inadequacy. How could he step out of the shadows and embrace both Emma's brilliance and his role as a father? The fork in the road was poised ahead, revealing a choice. That would require vulnerability and strength. Would he face this confrontation head-on, or let the current of resentment guide his decisions instead? The tension reached a climax, the night swirling around him like a vortex, unraveling everything he thought he understood. A reckoning was approaching. Was he ready to embrace it? Jake woke the next day filled with determination. The remnants of self-doubt still clung to him like a shadow, but he chose to focus on the sunrise that soaked his kitchen in golden light rather than the darkness that had festered overnight. He poured himself another cup of coffee, letting the heat of the mug ground him in the present. Today, he wouldn't let the specter of inadequacy cloud his actions. "Let us paint," he announced to Lily, who looked up from her toys with wide, bright eyes. There was no hesitation now, only a firm resolve. As soon as she squealed her delight, Jake felt something shift within him. This was not about competition or comparison. It was about creating memories, validating his role as a father. They sat up at the dining table, their area quickly becoming a delightful mess of paint splatters and laughter. The easy rhythm of their creativity made the house hum with joy. Jake found himself immersed not just in painting, but in the profound joy emanating from his daughter. Each brushstroke felt like a step toward reclaiming their space, reaffirming that he too could create. He wasn't Emma, but he didn't have to be. He was Jake Lily's dad. "Look at what I made," Lily declared, holding up a paper covered in vibrant streaks. The childlike confidence in her voice forced a smile onto his face. The pride bubbling inside him was infectious, igniting something within that he had almost forgotten existed. As they painted, fleeting moments emerged that demanded deeper introspection. Was this the kind of father he wanted to be? The question gnawed at him silently, weaving itself into the colorful chaos before them. He found himself wanting to explore more than just the canvas. Perhaps there was a way to express his feelings and reconnect with Lily beyond this art, a way to demonstrate love and encouragement in a world that often overshadowed him with self-doubt. Days passed, and the painting sessions continued, becoming a regular sanctuary for both father and daughter. While he poured himself into each canvas, Jake began to articulate his emotions through vivid colors. He pushed beyond merely avoiding Emma's areas of expertise, leading his own developmental exploration. Each day, he made a point to talk to Lily about feelings, about fears, and dreams while they painted. Yet, shadows still lingered. Every time Emma dropped by with news of gallivanting through galleries, her triumphs ignited a flicker of resentment within. It wasn't Emma's successes that bothered him so much as his awareness of how easily she fit into that world, the world of applause and accolades. Jake questioned whether he had once fit in there too, before he became entrenched in domesticity. During their next painting session, a thought struck him anew. Emma's vibrant spirit didn't negate his parental identity. Instead, it could coexist, intertwining their lives in ways that could be mutually supportive. Could he really embrace his own potential without dimming Emma's light? Driven by this revelation, Jake set off to seek new experiences. He scoured community bulletin boards for art classes designed for parents, even reached out to local artists for mentorship regarding creative expression. Maybe he could learn to blend his artistic craving with parenting in a way that fostered their collective growth. As he stepped out of his comfort zone, taking note of all he'd learned, an intriguing notion rippled through him. What if he shared this journey with Emma? Could they create a new narrative that incorporated both their triumphs without hindrance? But first, he had to conquer the uncomfortable conversation ahead, bringing up his feelings, his insecurities, and articulating a desire for collaboration rather than competition. The moment was nigh. Would he have the courage to confront the vulnerability entailed in sharing his journey, or would he silence his voice once more, letting the shadows creep back in? The air was thick with anticipation as he prepared to navigate a conversation that would either forge a new path or tighten the tension that hung between them. Jake stared out his kitchen window, the morning sun pouring through the glass like liquid gold. His grip on the mug tightened as he steeled himself for the conversation with Emma, a palpable mix of anxiety and determination swirling within him. How would his revelation be received? Would he finally be seen for more than just Lily's dad? With a deep breath, he set down the mug and turned toward the living room, where Lily was building something colorful with her blocks. Her laughter filled the space, a sound intertwined with innocence and joy that grounded him. In this moment, he realized what he needed to express wasn't just about his insecurities but also his aspirations, what he envisaged for both himself and Lily. "Hey, I know I said painting was just our thing," he began, slipping into the room. "But I've found some classes at the community center. I think they might be worth checking out together." Lily looked up, her expression puzzled and intrigued. "Will we paint there too, Daddy?" "Not just paint, but learn, explore, maybe even take a class where we can all paint together sometime." The words flowed with natural enthusiasm. He could see her excitement and, for the first time, felt the warmth of merging his dreams for himself with those for his daughter. Just as he was getting comfortable with the idea, a familiar wave of discomfort washed over him. What if this was just a half-hearted attempt to fit into a narrative he thought he should embrace instead of seeking genuine growth? Was he truly ready to venture into this new direction with Emma? Later that evening, he sat at the dining table, anxiously scrolling through his phone for artist contact details, pausing each time he thought of Emma. He wanted to invite her to be part of this journey, but how could he phrase it? Inviting her to take part in his aspirations seemed bold. Confrontational. Would she perceive him as a rival still haunted by shadows? As dusk fell, the glow of his desk lamp silhouetted the forms and colors he had created alongside Lily. He felt the shift in himself as he envisioned each brushstroke as a stepping stone. Even the delicate imperfections emerging were shaping something more substantial. The next day, he finally decided to call Emma. The sound of her voice on the other end brought a swirl of emotions. "Hey, Jake. How are you and Lily?" Her lightness was disarming, and just for a moment he hesitated. But as he explained his vision, how he wished to learn, grow, and perhaps even collaborate, their conversations gradually shifted from small talk to deeper exchanges. Would she see the merit in a joint adventure that utilized both their artistic strengths? After a brief silence, Emma responded thoughtfully, "I love that you want to invest in yourself and with Lily." But there it was, the inevitable but. Time stretched in that moment, the air heavy with unspoken words. "What's this really about? Are you feeling inadequate compared to me?" Her question struck close to the core of his vulnerability. Yet, it unraveled a line of honesty within him. Jake realized that being open wasn't just about revealing insecurities, but also sharing hopes for mutual understanding. "Yes," he admitted, "but it's more than that. I've let that fear dictate our interactions. I want us to explore our craft together, not just as parents, but as collaborators. We could be a team." The silence hummed between them, brimming with potential. Would she see the wisdom in what he was proposing? Would they reshape their shared story into something beautiful and supportive rather than competitive? He held his breath, waiting for her response, aware that this moment could fundamentally shift the course of their relationship. "Let's talk about it more over dinner," Emma finally suggested, a hint of encouragement lacing her voice. She seemed intrigued rather than dismissive, and suddenly, a fragile thread of hope vibrated through him. But there remained uncertainty beneath the surface of that hope. Jake's thoughts raced. Could this really lead to the growth he yearned for, or would it open old wounds? He had taken a step forward, but the path ahead remained steep, and the horizon blurred with possibilities. As he prepared himself for what lay ahead, one thought proliferated through his mind: change was in the air. Would this be the beginning of a new chapter together, or would it unravel into yet another round of conflict? The very essence of that dinner hung precariously in a balance, as he pondered deeply, what if their collaboration was a double-edged sword? The day of the dinner arrived, and Jake felt a knot of anticipation settle in his stomach. He spent the afternoon tidying up the small living room, setting the table with care, trying to create a warm atmosphere. The aroma of roasted chicken wafted through the house, mingling with the soft sounds of Lily's laughter as she played with her toys. He tried to focus on her joyous giggles, reminding himself of the reason behind this evening: growth, collaboration, and painting a new future together. Still, every tick of the clock felt like a countdown to an impending test. He replayed their conversation in his mind, grappling with the weight of Emma's probing question. Was he truly ready to confront his feelings of inadequacy? Would he hang up their unspoken competition on the wall, to be observed and critiqued like the paintings he hoped to create? As the hour approached, the anticipation morphed into anxiety. He watched the sun dip below the horizon through the window, and for a moment, he considered canceling. Perhaps a retreat would allow him to avoid the sharp edge of vulnerability. But just as quickly, he wrestled with his instinct to shy away. This was the moment he had been striving for: a shared space where both their ambitions could knit together. When the doorbell rang, the sound jolted him forward. Opening the door, he found Emma standing there, a light sweater draped over her shoulders. "Hey, Jake," she said, her smile warm yet tinged with curiosity, as if she sensed the seriousness of their evening's agenda. "Thanks for coming," he replied, thrusting open the door wider and stepping aside to let her in. "Lily's been waiting to show you what she's been working on." She walked in, and Jake admired how she naturally brightened the atmosphere. They shared laughter over dinner, each light-hearted moment punctuated by the heaviness lurking just below the surface. As they finished the meal, Jake decided to take the leap. He had to address the complexities of their relationship before he could truly invest in the artistic venture he envisioned. "Emma, He began, his voice steadier than he felt, "I appreciate you coming over tonight for this conversation. I want to discuss more than just the painting classes." Her eyes sharpened with attention. "I thought as much. What's on your mind?" He drew a breath, remembering Lily's carefree smile breaking down barriers earlier. "I've been feeling like my identity has narrowed into just being Lily's dad. I really want to reclaim my passion for art and create something with you, something sincere that combines both of our strengths." Her brow furrowed, and he could sense the subtle shift in her demeanor. Once again, he had laid bare his vulnerabilities. Would she understand? Did she share this desire for collaboration, or would it feel like another admission of his perceived failure? "I get that," Emma responded slowly, her tone lowering with an honesty Jake wasn't entirely expecting. "But you've always had talent, you just need to let it shine again. It's not about measuring against me, it's about growth, at your own pace." Jake felt an unexpected lightness. It was as though Emma had pulled back a veil, allowing him to see not just his fears but also the path ahead. Suddenly, a flicker of excitement danced within him, illuminating the shadowy doubts. "Really? You believe that?" "I do. In fact," she leaned in, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, "I want to help you. Let's make a plan to explore these classes together. We don't have to rush, we can take it one brushstroke at a time." His heart raced at her willingness. This was more than he had hoped for. They could truly embark on a journey of artistic renewal, free from prior entanglements. Yet as they planned, lingering beneath the collaborative enthusiasm was a thread of concern. Would their partnership lead to deeper explorations of their individual selves, or would it expose fractures they hadn't yet acknowledged? As the conversation matured, Jake realized this gateway opened not just to artistry but also to confronting parts of himself he had long left untouched. Each shared idea felt like a commitment to authenticity, yet beneath that pleasant surface lurked the unease of facing the deeper truths. What if exploring art turns out to be too revealing? He pondered aloud, his vulnerability sharpening. What if we uncover things between us that can't be untangled? Emma's response was deliberate. "That's the risk of growth, isn't it? But perhaps it's time we discover what lies beyond our fears." With that, the evening felt heavy with unspoken realities. A new chapter was unfolding, yet Jake couldn't shake the sense of impending confrontation. As they wrapped up dinner, he understood that this partnership would not only test their artistic capabilities but also the very foundation of their relationship. What they couldn't predict was whether the brushstrokes of their collaboration would paint a masterpiece or unravel the delicate threads holding them together. Jake found himself staring into the future, uncertain but undeniably ready to embrace whatever revelations awaited. Would the pursuit of their shared passion ultimately empower and uplift them, or plunge them into unforeseen chaos? Only time would tell. As the evening dissolved into the hush of night, Jake felt the warmth of Emma's presence linger, but there was an unsettling weight rising within him. There, in the flickering glow of the dining room light, as Lily peacefully nestled into her bed, Jake confronted the dichotomy of elation and trepidation swirling in his mind, battling for dominance. He had committed to intertwining his artistic journey with Emma's, yet the fear of the unknown gnawed at him like an unfinished canvas that in the distance, the city hummed softly, almost indifferently as he considered the implications of this partnership. What if his efforts birthed something genuine, something worthy of admiration? Or worse, what if he exposed himself in a way that left him more vulnerable than ever before? He sat on the couch, a sketchbook resting on his thigh, blank pages staring back at him like a mirror reflecting his own uncertainties. The next morning, with the sun's first light spilling into the room, Jake picked up his pencil. He knew he had to channel the conflicting emotions swirling within him, not to hide, but to unearth layers hidden deep beneath his skin. Each mark on the paper became a small step toward articulating his experience, feelings transforming into lines and shapes that held meaning beyond words. That he felt a surge of resolve wash over him as he drew. The act of creation gave him clarity. It was a reminder that vulnerability could serve as a wellspring of strength. Today, he told himself, is the day to take a leap into this uncertainty. If he wanted to grow, he had to remain committed to exploring the realms of both his art and himself. After breakfast, he reached for his phone, his fingers trembling as he typed a message to Emma. "Let us meet today and discuss our plan, solidify our intentions. The sooner we dive in, the better." The response came swiftly. "Absolutely. I'm excited to see where we can go together." With a smile stretching across his face, Jake realized that their collaboration was more than a professional endeavor, it was an opportunity to mold a shared narrative shaped by both their stories. As he prepared to meet Emma, determination solidified in his gut. He would no longer linger on the periphery of doubt, he would embrace discovery in every sense of the word. They convened in a cozy cafe buzzing with the hum of morning chatter. Jake noticed his heart racing, a palpable excitement thrumming in his blood as he saw her approach their table. The moment felt electric, charged with promise and unspoken expectation. Once they settled into a comfortable rhythm of conversation, the initial formality faded into a natural exchange, an energy that felt almost synchronistic. "I've been thinking," Jake began, his voice breaking slightly. "What if we created an art piece that doesn't just showcase our techniques but tells a story? Something that captures our individual journeys while merging into one cohesive narrative." Emma's brow rose, reflecting a mixture of intrigue and admiration. "I love that idea, Jake. Art is inherently personal, there's beauty in reflecting our struggles and triumphs. But we should ask ourselves, what are we willing to reveal?" Jake inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of her question resonate within him. What was he ready to showcase? He craved authenticity but feared the full exposure of his insecurities. "I want to be honest about my journey as a dad, an artist rediscovering himself. I want this to be a celebration, but the fear of judgment lurks." Emma nodded thoughtfully, her gaze unwavering. "That's the essence of growth, isn't it? But the fear of vulnerability opens doors to profound insights. We can't shy away from that discomfort, it drives the creative process." As those words settled around them, Jake felt a shift within. Could the act of creation be a conduit to confront his fears? The exchange between them, a catalyst for introspection beyond mere surface-level ambitions, ignited a flicker of eagerness in him. The pressing confrontation loomed near, an exploration of what it meant for Jake to truly express himself. Would he find the courage to reveal the depths of his journey amid the canvas of their collaboration? Or would he retreat into the shadows, allowing fear to stifle creativity? That question lingered like an unfinished painting in his mind. As they left the cafe, Jake glanced at the vibrant world around him, infused with color and energy, and he felt the palpable thrill of a growing determination to embrace whatever revelations awaited him. The canvas of his life was about to be painted anew, but the stroke of the brush was still uncertain, and the next move would demand courage he wasn't sure he had. As Jake walked alongside Emma, he felt an undercurrent shifting beneath the surface of their discussion, a barrier yet to be breached. Would their artistic endeavor strip away the illusions he clung to, or would it forge a stronger bond that could withstand the pressures of truth? The fear of the unknown loomed, as compelling and daunting as the landscapes they were about to explore together. Jake awoke the next morning with a feeling often described as a blend of anxiety and hope. The sun poured through the curtains, illuminating the stack of sketches that adorned the dining room table. Each piece whispered to him, tugging at the edges of his consciousness, reminders of moments captured in charcoal that told stories richer than words could convey. Somehow, the act of creation had quietly begun to shape his identity, not just as an artist, but as a father navigating the complexities of life. That he poured himself a cup of coffee, the aroma filling the room with warmth. Today would be pivotal, he could feel it in his bones. The prospect of merging his narrative with Emma's weighed heavily on his mind, and yet in this moment, he was acutely aware of the changes rooted within him. He was on the precipice of deeper understanding, not just recognizing his fears, but confronting them. As he reflected, the thought of vulnerability began to settle into his skin, igniting a flicker of determination. He was ready to claim his truth, to embrace the messy strokes of his life as components of an intricate tapestry rather than burdens weighing him down. He decided to spend part of the morning working on a piece that portrayed not just his triumphs, but the struggles, self-doubt, the chaos of parenting, and the profound joy that intertwined with heartbreak that he grabbed his pencils and began to sketch a series of frames depicting a father's journey, days filled with laughter, tears, and moments of quiet reflection. Each character was imbued with layers of emotion that mirrored his own. It felt liberating, grounding him in the present and showcasing the resilience he had cultivated. Each stroke became an act of defiance against the judgment he feared, a desire to redefine vulnerability not as a flaw but as a source of strength. Later that day, he met Emma at a local art gallery for inspiration. As they walked through the exhibits, discussing pieces that resonated with them, Jake felt the subtle shift in their dynamic, a growing synergy that transcended mere collaboration. The artwork surrounding them catalyzed a profound discussion, as they reflected on how their experiences shaped their perceptions of art. This, Emma pointed out, gesturing toward a powerful installation, is transformative. You can feel the artist's struggle, the grit, and the grace. It encourages introspection, doesn't it? What are the stories we need to share? Jake's heart raced. The very stories we've often hidden, or tried to gloss over. Are we brave enough to showcase our flaws as intricately as we showcase our triumphs? Her gaze met his, a knowing smile dancing on her lips. That's the pivotal question, isn't it? What if we turned our fears into our art? Our audience might connect with our authenticity more than we realize. With each passing moment, they inched closer to breaking the barriers of self-expression. But the reality of Jake's internal battle loomed large. Would he have the courage to strip away the protective layers he'd woven around himself? As they exited the gallery, a palpable energy surrounded them. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows that reminded him of the artistic abstracts he longed to create. The air brimmed with possibilities, yet lurking was the undeniable sense that he was reaching a tipping point, one that could either elevate or obliterate his creative spirit. Later that evening, Jake sat down with his sketchbook once more, adrenaline coursing through him. He needed to commit to a vision, something that would not just redefine his art, but also pave the way for an unparalleled personal revelation. The stakes had never felt higher, the context of their project pushing on the boundaries of how they could collaborate. But what if exposing his deepest self, letting the world see the chaotic beauty of his life, would ultimately challenge him beyond measure? As fear wove its familiar threads through his mind, he asked himself one thing: was he ready to shatter the pretense and allow vulnerability to be his greatest ally? The sketchbook lay open, a blaring invitation refusing to be ignored. Inspired, he resolved to blend his artistic narrative with the raw details of his journey into parenthood, a story aching to resonate far and wide. Then, as the sun dipped below the horizon, closing the day with an aura of mystery and potential, the question that remained was not just about what he had to reveal, but rather, how far he would go to unearth the truths buried deep within his heart. The impending confrontation with his fears loomed near, and with it awaited revelations that could forever alter the course of his life. Jake awoke with renewed resolve, though the remnants of night still clung to him. The sketches scattered across the dining room table appeared to pulse in the morning light, a vivid reminder of the journey upon which he had embarked. He could feel the weight of expectations pressing down, not only from himself but from the society that often silenced authentic expressions. It was time to elevate his truth, to craft art that celebrated both the chaos and beauty in his life narrative. After a quick breakfast, he gathered his art supplies, intentionally leaving behind the chaos of the past few days. Each brush, pencil, and charcoal tool represented not just a means of creation but an invitation to explore his evolving identity as an artist and a father. There was a palpable sense of liberation in this choice, like shedding a skin that had long grown too tight. He began the day's focus on the pivotal piece that would serve as both self-portrait and testimony. The idea crystallized in his mind: it would be a self-portrait not just in the literal sense, but a visualization of his internal landscape entwined with the roles of fatherhood, vulnerability, and authenticity. The merging of these identities ignited a new layer of dedication within him. Drawing the first lines felt almost electric. The pencil glided against the paper, translating the tangled emotions of fear and daring into a visceral form. He captured vivid details: the worry lines of late nights spent pacing, the warmth of laughter shared over a simple meal, the tightrope of love and guilt he walked as a single parent. He wanted those who viewed his work to feel the weight of every choice, every failure, and every fleeting victory. To deepen his understanding of this new direction, he spent the afternoon reflecting on other artists who had made significant impacts in portraying vulnerability. With each exhibit he explored, he noted the profound narratives that resonated with his own experiences. Their art seemed to legitimize the emotional turbulence he had long feared to expose. Emboldened, Jake decided to reach out to local art schools to engage in workshops that focused on storytelling through art. There he could gain insight, learn techniques not just for mastery over mediums, but for the integrity of depicting life itself. This active step grounded him in a community of fellow creators and seekers, providing fertile ground for collaboration or story exchange. Just then, a message from Emma lit up his phone screen. She was meeting with a group of artists interested in discussing modern narratives through visual media. Would he like to join? His instincts screamed excitement while caution whispered concerns about stepping into the unknown. Was he ready to expose his evolving artistic journey to others? Could he bear the judgment that inevitably flowed from sharing oneself in such an unguarded way? Yet, the thrill of possibility outweighed his hesitations. Instead of weighing the consequences, he focused on the potential for growth. After a moment of contemplation, he typed a response, signaling his willingness to join. As he pressed send, a surge of adrenaline coursed through him. It was a step that defied the inertia of self-doubt and embraced the risk of connection. The clock ticked steadily, marking the moments leading to their meeting. He took a deep breath, reminding himself of the transformation he sought. With each passing second, he consequently prepared to take a leap into a fresh chapter that could redefine not only his art but the very essence of his being. But as the hour approached, and the sight of familiar faces filled his mind, some encouraging, others laden with unspoken critiques, he felt the nagging question resurface. Would unveiling his narrative lead to acceptance and understanding, or would it render him even more vulnerable than before? Jake clenched his fists around the sketchbook, feeling the edges dig into his palms, a physical reminder of the challenge ahead. He was on the cusp of an evolution that could either set him free or tether him to uncharted anxiety. The time had come to face not only his fears but also the profound truth that lay within them. And as he stepped toward the door, a single thought echoed in his mind: what if this meeting unlocked not just artistic collaboration, but the deeper compartments of his soul he had only dared to explore? Jake's heart raced as he crossed the threshold from the familiar cocoon of home into the unpredictable expanse of the outside world. Each step amplified his anxiety, threading through anticipation and fear in equal measure. What awaited him on the other side? The weight of his insecurities wrestled with the glimmer of hope. He was determined to forge ahead. As he approached the small gallery where Emma's group would meet, the vibrant energy of the art-filled space greeted him. Walls alive with stories ignited his senses. Bright colors contrasted with heavy shadows, each piece embodying a narrative that whispered truths he longed to embody in his own work. It was as if he had entered a sanctuary dedicated to the very authenticity he sought. That he took a moment, allowing the pulse of creativity to permeate his skin. The thought of sharing his process with others was daunting, yet he couldn't deny the flicker of excitement kindled by the possibility of finding a collaborative spark. For too long, he had confined himself to solitary pursuits. Now, the notion of unity within vulnerability felt like an uncharted thrill. Stepping inside, he spotted Emma across the room, her infectious enthusiasm evident even from a distance. She was engaged in conversation, her gestures animated. Jake hesitated, a flash of insecurity tightening his chest. Did he truly belong here? But even as self-doubt wrapped around him, a determination surged. It was time to embrace his journey and invite others into the evolution of his artistic identity. The moment he stepped closer, Emma turned, her eyes brightening. "Jake! I'm so glad you made it." Her enthusiasm dispelled some of his fears. She introduced him to several members of the group, each sharing their backgrounds and passions. The stories flowed like brush strokes on canvas, merging into a colorful tapestry of experiences that felt simultaneously distant and intimately familiar. As they began discussing the theme of the evening, narratives expressed through modern visual media, Jake felt a shift within himself. Their openness invited him to lower the protective walls he had constructed around his creativity. He listened carefully, absorbing insights and gauging their dynamic. With each shared story, he found reflections of his own struggles and triumphs in their words. Then, it came time for contributions. Jake's palms grew clammy. This was the moment he had both eagerly anticipated and dreaded. The thoughts raced within him. Would they understand his perspective? Could he articulate the whirlwind of emotions captured in his art? Finally, he raised his hand. "I've been working on a piece that combines elements of fatherhood and self-reflection," he said, voice slightly shaky but resolute. Guiding the group through his vision, he described how each detail in his self-portrait represented a fragment of his journey, unveiling not just the joys and challenges of parenting but also how they intertwined with his artistic evolution. To his surprise, there was a palpable silence that followed an engaged stillness that felt validating rather than judgmental. A fellow artist, a woman with streaks of paint on her fingertips, leaned in. "That sounds like a powerful exploration. It's brave to connect your vulnerabilities to your artistry." Encouragement washed over him, stoking an ember of confidence within. They engaged, provoking detailed discussions about concepts of vulnerability, fatherhood, and the freedom and constraints of artistic expression. He began to view himself not just as a solitary creator, but as a participant in a broader conversation, one that encapsulated varied experiences, all rooted in the same human condition. As the evening wore on, Jake realized the potential for growth extended far beyond the confines of art. The connections being forged were growing deeper than he dared to expect, exposing layers of his identity he had kept hidden. But with each insight shared, the anxiety that once clouded him began to lift, yet amidst the laughter and exploration, they eventually turned their attention to him. "What's next for you, Jake?" Emma asked, prompting a question he had not yet contemplated. What was next? The urgency of that inquiry caused a knot to form in his stomach, a reminder that self-discovery couldn't halt at mere expressions. It demanded evolution. He looked around the room, eyes meeting those of others who were equally invested in their artistic evolution, and the tension within him coalesced into a burning question. Could this new community of artists nurture the authenticity he craved in ways he had not yet imagined? Would exposing more of himself lead not to vulnerability, but empowerment? As he pondered these thoughts, the air thickened with unsaid questions, illuminating an unexpected crossroads. The journey he had embarked upon was not just an artistic venture, it was a dive into uncharted emotional territories, and just as he felt the winds of clarity begin to swirl within him, a piece of news flickered through his mind: a looming gallery showcase for emerging artists that involved communal displays. Would he dare to unveil his soul in front of critics and admirers? The choice loomed ahead, entwining dread with exhilaration. The moment of truth crested on the horizon, one that required him to step beyond the safety of his newfound community into the public eye where judgment and acceptance awaited. The days leading to the gallery showcase felt surreal as anticipation swirled within Jake. The once distant notion of sharing his artistic journey was suddenly a vibrant, tangible reality. Each moment led him to confront what remained, the lingering shadows of doubt that often accompanied growth. If he considered the journey thus far, Jake saw a spectrum of moments painting with Lily, alongside Emma, and finally, the new sense of community that flourished around him. Building relationships, sharing vulnerabilities, and confronting fears had illuminated corners of himself he never knew existed. He was no longer an artist hidden behind the walls of self-imposed isolation, he was evolving. As he sat in the studio, threading tiny details into his self-portrait, a thrilling realization emerged within him. This painting wasn't merely for him, it became a bridge for his daughter, his bond with Emma, and ultimately, a glimpse into the remarkable tapestry of parenthood. His strokes whispered tales of laughter and anguish, joy and sacrifice. Each detail resonated with a profound truth, encapsulating both the beauty and chaos of his life. The gallery loomed ahead, but he was unprepared for the unyielding surge of anxiety that slammed against him upon arrival. The weight of judgment hung palpably in the air. Would anyone truly understand the intimate narrative woven into his piece? The restlessness festered, creeping back into his subconscious like a familiar foe. With trembling hands, he set up the canvas amidst peers whose talent filled the room with a palpable vibrancy. He offered nervous smiles to Emma, who stood nearby, her own artwork glowing with promise. They exchanged supportive glances, offering unspoken reassurances, reminders that he belonged amidst this collective pursuit. But Jake knew this was his moment. This night would either be a culmination of his growth or a test of his resilience. Hours passed, and the excitement of opening night buzzed with the chatter of art enthusiasts, critics, and curious onlookers. It both invigorated and intimidated him, the reality that he was standing on the threshold of his vulnerability alongside his accomplishments was indescribable. Would they see him? Would the canvas captivate them? Would they recognize his story? As the clock ticked towards formal introductions, Jake took a deep breath. He recalled the values instilled in him during his many painting sessions with Lily. It was not solely about perfection, it was about embodying authenticity, embracing the imperfections that provided depth. When the moment arose, he stepped forward, heart racing, yet fueled with purpose. Emma introduced him, her pride in his journey as palpable as his own. "This is Jake," she declared to the audience. "I'm honored to share this space with him." The weight of her words buoyed him and grounded him at the same time that he positioned himself alongside the canvas, feeling the warm gaze of a supportive audience. "This piece," he started, voice steadying as he gestured towards his art, "is a self-portrait woven intricately with the threads of parenting, creativity, and vulnerability. It represents the fears, joys, and growth I've experienced as an artist and a father." The words flowed, unshackled by the fear that had once stifled him. He realized that no longer was he asking for acceptance, he was sharing his legacy. As applause greeted his revelation, an undeniable truth settled upon him. This journey of collaboration and exploration had birthed a new confidence he was yearning to explore. Each heartbeat echoed validation, reminding him that he was not alone. In that moment, Jake could see beyond the display of talents, he saw the connections forged in the room, the collective celebration of vulnerability that brought them together. He was stepping into a new narrative of his life, a life he could co-author alongside Lily and Emma. The evening culminated in unexpected enthusiasm. Attendees engaged in conversations surrounding the themes he had dived into, reflecting their own stories onto his artwork. Jake felt empowered. Realizing he had not merely shared a piece of art, he had unveiled a narrative that resonated deeply with others. Against the backdrop of mutual support, he found himself smiling not with an arrogance of accomplishment but with hope and realization. Jake had transcended simply being defined as a single dad or an aspiring artist, he was a participant in an artistic community rich with shared experiences and dreams. By night's end, with the gallery slowly emptying and his heart still racing from the connections made, Jake understood that his artistic journey wasn't a solo venture, it blossomed from his relationships, his vulnerability, and his willingness to embrace growth. He had created a space for himself filled not just with artistry, but brimming with shared reflections. He stepped into the cool evening air, the weight of self-doubt replaced with a buoyancy of assurance. In that moment, as he watched Emma and Lily together, laughing and pointing excitedly at the pieces around them, Jake felt a surge of overwhelming satisfaction. He was not just a father. He was an artist, a mentor, and a storyteller, ready to embrace the next chapter. As this story drew to a close, Jake knew the true narrative was not found within the walls of the gallery. It was crafted daily in every giggle shared with Lily, every brushstroke savored during their art sessions, and every creative leap taken alongside Emma. Now, as his journey transformed into an inspiring testament to personal growth, Jake beckoned others through his art, inviting them to paint their narratives, too. If you're inspired by Jake's journey and want to witness even more exclusive emotional stories that ignite personal transformation, now is the time to subscribe immediately to the channel, leave a like now to support the algorithm and spread the love to more viewers who need to hear these powerful stories. Comment below with your reactions what resonated with you the most. We want to hear all your theories about this groundbreaking conclusion, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need a dose of inspiration in their lives. You need to show your support to keep these uplifting stories coming.